I didn't know a weekend could feel like a fork in the road until I watched the highway fade behind Luca's dusty blue pickup. I'm Milo, 24, studio art major turned restless graphic designer, perpetually scribbling thumbnails in the margins of life, half hoping inspiration will crash into me the way Luca does when he shoulders through my apartment door unannounced. We met freshman year, bonded by a shared allergy to small talk and an unhealthy devotion to late-night sketch sessions. 4 years later he's my best friend, my accidental muse, and the reason my pulse drums faster than the truck's engine whenever he laughs. The invitation arrived last Tuesday, tucked between bills. Cabin's free this weekend. Dad's away. You in? A scribbled arrow pointed to a Polaroid of us from sophomore spring, 2 idiots grinning in falling snow, his arms slung across my hoodie like it belonged there. I said yes before I finished reading, though the yes lodged in my chest like a secret I still don't know how to tell. Now the tires crunch onto a gravel drive swallowed by pines. The cabin is older than Luca, cedar-scented, windows glowing with late afternoon sun. He hums along to some indie playlist, tapping the steering wheel in offbeat sync. I catalog the way the light fuses gold into the brown of his eyes. He catches me staring and flicks a grin. Bet you've already redesigned this place in your head. Only repainted the shutters, I manage, pushing my sketchbook deeper into my backpack. He doesn't see the page where I practiced his profile 3 dozen times. Inside, dust motes drift like sleepy fireflies through beams of light. A stone fireplace yawns at one end, 2 weathered couches flank a low coffee table etched with knife marks, childhood initials I recognize from stories he's told. Everything smells of pine, smoke, and a faint citrus cologne Luca must have borrowed from his dad. It's intimate, disarming. My heart annotates every creak of the floorboards. He tosses me a key on a fraying leather fob. Pick whichever room. It's just us till Sunday. The words just us land heavy, thrilling. I pocket the key, fingertips tingling where the leather brushed skin, and wonder if 3 days in this quiet forest will finally untangle the confession I've been redrafting for years. Luca and I became friends the way accidents happen. Suddenly, messily, and impossible to ignore afterward. It was during orientation week, both of us stuck in a broken elevator with a girl who wouldn't stop talking about her gap year in Portugal. By floor 3, we were exchanging silent looks over her shoulder. By floor 5, we were barely holding back laughter. When we finally stumbled out, breathless with suppressed grins, Luca offered me half his granola bar like we'd known each other for years. Since then, he's been gravity. Every time I drift too far into my head, he pulls me back down, through coffee-fueled all-nighters, midnight bike rides, or spontaneous bookstore hauls where he insists on choosing the most obscure titles just to annoy me. It works. Bet you brought 3 sketchbooks, he says now, nudging my duffel with his boot as I kick off my shoes near the hearth. 5, I admit, pretending not to notice how his hoodie rides up when he stretches, exposing a sliver of skin above his waistband. 2 are just for portraits. Of me, I hope, he teases, heading toward the kitchen. It's about time the world saw my bone structure properly honored. You already have 3 selfies on your driver's license, I call after him. Isn't that enough? He laughs, deep and unguarded, and I find myself smiling like an idiot. I busy myself by exploring the cabin, touching things I remember from his stories. The shelf of old vinyls his dad swore would make a comeback. The crooked photo of Luca at age 8, missing his front teeth and holding a fishing pole like it was a sword. I pick the smaller of the 2 bedrooms. The bed's narrow, barely a double. I set my bag down, but something about the quiet makes me return to the main room. Luca's on the couch, balancing 2 mismatched mugs of tea on his knees. Water pressure's shit, but the kettle works. I'm calling that a win. We sit close, our knees brushing now and then, neither of us moving away. Outside, the sun dips behind the pines, casting the room in amber hues. I sip my tea to avoid staring at his profile. It doesn't work. So, he says, turning slightly toward me. Ready to lose at Scrabble all over again? You got lucky that one time, I mutter. He grins, eyes sparkling. Please. I beat you with effervescent. On a triple word score. Yeah, I say, voice low. I remember. And I do. I remember everything. The way he fist-bumped the air, then flushed when our fingers brushed. How his leg had stayed pressed to mine under the table. How he'd looked at me afterward, not joking, not smug, just quietly hopeful. Or maybe that was me projecting. Later, as we unpack the gear from the truck, I realize he's brought one sleeping bag. Just one. You forgot mine, I say, blinking at the rolled-up bundle he's unfurling by the fire. No, I didn't, he says, not quite meeting my eyes. It got soaked in the bed of the truck. Storm on the way here. This is the only dry one. I glance toward the window. The sky's already bruising purple, thunderheads on the horizon. Guess we're improvising. We've done worse, he says, and for a heartbeat his hand lingers on my arm as he passes. Familiar. Sure. We get the fire going, half laughing at our own incompetence. He insists on toasting marshmallows with forks we found in a drawer, and when one catches fire, he blows it out and offers it to me, sheepish. Still edible, he says, like it's an apology and a dare. I take it, biting into the charred sugar while watching the glow play across his face. He doesn't look away. And neither do I. By the time the storm hit, we were halfway through a horror movie and halfway into our second bag of popcorn. The power cut just as the killer made his dramatic reveal, leaving us in sudden, humming silence. Luca groaned. Figures. Cabins wired like it's 1972. I peered out the window. The pines swayed hard in the wind, their shadows stretching across the yard like something alive. Rain lashed the glass in sheets, and distant thunder rolled across the hills. You ever seen this place flood before? I asked, only half joking. He grinned, unfazed. Just once. But we had a canoe back then. Comforting. The fireplace crackled, casting flickering light across the room. Without the background buzz of electricity, everything felt closer. More intimate. I could hear the wind shifting through the trees, the rain tick-ticking on the rooftop, even the soft sound of Luca breathing beside me. He stood and stretched, his hoodie rising again, this time higher, revealing the sculpted line of his back before he let it fall. Might as well call it a night. No Wi-Fi. No lights. Just raw human suffering. I forced a smile. The horror. But the smile slipped when I followed him to the sleeping bag by the fire. He knelt to unzip it, spreading it out as wide as it would go on the rug. The cushions from the couch had been tossed down as padding. It wasn't much. I'll sleep on the floor, I said instinctively. He looked over his shoulder at me, one eyebrow raised. What? So I can wake up with you sneezing like you have a pollen vendetta? Come on. It's not like we haven't shared worse. I hesitated. We had. Studio floor naps. Backseat crashes on road trips. A night once when I got too drunk at a house party and passed out with my head in his lap, his fingers carding absently through my hair. But this felt different. You sure? I asked, my voice catching slightly. Positive, he said, softer now. It's freezing. And honestly, you run warm like a freaking space heater. I'd be stupid not to share. I didn't argue again. We lay side by side, backs turned at first. I could feel the heat of him just inches away. Hear the quiet shift of fabric whenever he moved. I stared at the fire, trying not to overthink every second. But that's the thing about trying not to think. You end up thinking twice as hard. What if I reached out and he pulled away? What if he didn't? I closed my eyes, focusing on the sound of rain. But then Luca shifted, rolling toward me just enough that our shoulders brushed. His arm accidentally touched mine, and he didn't move it. You still awake? He murmured. Yeah. A beat passed. You ever think about how weird it is? How easy we are together? I turned to face him in the dim firelight. His eyes were open, watching me carefully. I do, I said. My voice felt too loud in the quiet, but I couldn't take it back. All the time. He smiled, but it was the small, unreadable kind he wore when he was thinking too hard. You're the only person I've ever been this comfortable with, I guess. Like, nothing I say or do ever feels like too much around you. That did something to me. Bent something inside. I exhaled slowly. Same. Make things make sense. even when they don't. Another beat. He shifted closer, just slightly. His knee bumped mine beneath the sleeping bag. His fingers stretched, brushing against my wrist, then paused like he wasn't sure if they were allowed to stay there. My pulse thundered. I wanted to grab his hand. I wanted to pull him into me and say all the things I've buried in years of silence and smiles and sketchbook pages. But fear held me back. Fear of the silence that could follow. Of the distance that could grow where closeness once lived. Instead, I whispered, "Do you ever wonder what it would be like if things were different?" He didn't answer right away. His hand slid just a little farther, resting lightly against my arm. His thumb moved, slow, deliberate. A soothing, absent-minded stroke that sent a shiver down my spine. "Yeah," he said. "I think about that a lot." His voice was barely audible over the rain. Silence swelled between us, but not the uncomfortable kind. It was thick with something else, wanting maybe, waiting. That feeling like you're about to step off a ledge and you don't know if you'll fall or fly. I looked at him. Really looked. The way the firelight caught on the curve of his jaw. The softness in his eyes that wasn't there when we were joking. The quiet pull in his body, like he wanted to be closer but didn't know how close was safe. I wanted to bridge the space. To finally speak the truth that had been beating at the inside of my ribs since I first met him. But I couldn't, not yet. Not when the moment was this fragile. So instead, I shifted forward, just enough that our foreheads brushed. He didn't move away. He let out a breath, and I felt it against my skin. I closed my eyes, hoping the silence would say the things I couldn't yet. That I loved the way he smelled like citrus and firewood. That I'd never really wanted anyone the way I wanted him. That I was terrified of what might happen if he didn't feel the same. But more terrified of spending another night pretending I didn't care. The fire had burned down to low embers, casting long, tired shadows across the floor. Neither of us moved. We lay close enough that I could feel Luca's breath warming the air between us, his fingers still brushing my forearm in that steady, thoughtful rhythm, like he didn't even realize he was doing it. I should have said something then. I should have reached across the last few inches, closed the space between us with a whisper or a touch. But fear held me still, as it always had. He shifted slightly and his fingers slipped away. I felt the loss like a gust of cold air. "I can't sleep," he murmured, eyes still closed. "My brain won't shut up." I tried to keep my voice steady. "About what?" He rolled onto his back, eyes opening to the ceiling. "Everything," he said. Then after a pause, "Mostly." The silence that followed was sharp, electric. My heart stopped for a full second before kicking back into overdrive. "Me?" I echoed, barely above a whisper. He exhaled slowly, like something in him was unraveling. "You ever feel like there's this one person who sees you? Not just the parts you show, but all the stuff underneath? The messy, ugly, embarrassing parts. And they don't flinch. They don't look away. They just stay." I swallowed hard. "Yeah," I said. "I know that feeling." He turned his head to face me again. His eyes searched mine, quiet and vulnerable in a way I'd never seen before. "You're that person for me, Milo." The words hit with the force of something tectonic, something I'd imagined in dreams but never dared to believe could be real. My mouth opened, then closed again. I couldn't speak. "Not yet. I keep thinking," he went on, "about all the times I could have told you. Should have told you. But I didn't want to screw this up. You matter too much." I sat up slowly, heart hammering in my chest. The fire cracked behind us, casting a faint glow across the room, but all I could see was him. Luca, my best friend. Saying everything I'd been terrified to say first. "I think about it too," I said, my voice shaking. "Every day, if I'm honest. I've wanted to tell you for so long, but it never felt like the right moment. Or maybe I was just scared of hearing you say it wasn't mutual." He sat up, mirroring me, our knees nearly touching in the tight space of the sleeping bag. "So it is mutual?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah. It always has been." He let out a laugh, soft and disbelieving, like some impossible tension had finally broken inside him. "God, Milo. You could have told me in, like, sophomore year and saved me 3 years of pining. I tried once, I admitted. But you were distracted, ranting about some girl who ghosted you. I chickened out. He groaned and buried his face in his hands. I only talked about her to distract myself from thinking about you. I thought I was being subtle. You're the least subtle person I've ever met. He looked up, and something in his expression shifted. Tenderness, maybe. Or something deeper. I've wanted to do this for a long time, he said. Do what? His hand reached up, hesitant at first, brushing a curl from my forehead. His thumb lingered at my temple. This, he whispered. He leaned in slowly, giving me every second to back away. I didn't. Our lips met in the middle, soft, tentative, and warm. It wasn't the fireworks people write about. It was something quieter, steadier, like the breath you take after holding it too long. Like recognition. Like coming home. I felt his fingers slide into my hair, tilting my face gently as our kiss deepened. My hands found his waist, clutching the fabric of his hoodie like it was the only solid thing in the world. We kissed like we'd been waiting for permission, for time, for space. And now we had all three. When we finally broke apart, foreheads pressed together, I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. So, I said, smiling through the nerves, that happened. He grinned back. Finally. There was silence again, but this time it felt like something warm curling around us, not something standing in the way. I pulled back just enough to study him, his cheeks flushed, eyes soft with something between relief and awe. I realized then how long he must have carried this too. How many conversations he probably rewrote in his head. How many moments he'd held back. You okay? I asked. He nodded a little too fast. Yeah, just scared. But the good kind. Like I just stepped off a cliff and found out I could fly. I'm scared too, I admitted. But I think that's okay. We lay back down, this time facing each other, our hands tentatively entwined between us. He brushed his thumb along my knuckles, the way he used to tap his pencil during class, absently, rhythmically, like muscle memory. What happens now? I asked. He bit his lip, thoughtful. I don't know. I mean, we go back to our lives. I still live an hour away. You still refuse to admit I'm better at charades. I laughed softly. But, he added, we figure it out. Together. That sound okay? Yeah, I said, meaning every syllable. It sounds perfect. He tugged me closer, just enough that our foreheads touched again. Hey, Milo. Yeah. I love that you always carry a pencil behind your ear. Even when you're not drawing. I smiled. I love that you noticed. He squeezed my hand. Of course I did. I notice everything about you. And just like that, something inside me settled. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting anymore. He knew. And he stayed. Morning drifts in slow and silver, the storm now only a memory of rain-bright needles on the window panes. Luca is still asleep, one arm slung across my waist, the soft exhale of his breath ruffling my t-shirt. I've imagined waking up like this, warm, claimed, a little tangled, but the real thing is quieter than fantasy, steady heartbeat against my shoulder, the smell of wood smoke in his hair, the hiss-pop of an ember giving up. When he finally stirs, he blinks at me, hazy, then smiles so wide I feel it bloom inside my ribs. Morning, space heater, he mumbles, voice sandruff. Morning, blanket thief. I lift the corner he's hogged. Evidence. He grins, tugs me closer instead of surrendering the fabric. Our noses bump, it's clumsy, perfect. Sorry, he whispers, instinct. Can't fight instincts, I say, and kiss the apology off his lips, only a brush, but enough to make his fingers tighten at my hip. We lie there trading small, fizzing kisses until hunger and the chill finally get us moving. In the kitchen, we dance the slow shuffle of two people figuring out how to share space when sharing everything suddenly feels possible. I toast bread over the fire, he rummages for jam, humming off-key. Every so often he nudges my shoulder just to watch me blush like I'm brand new to touch. Hey, he says, handing me a mug. We should probably talk logistics, right? I tilt my head. Define logistics. Well, he leans against the counter, crossing his arms. I live in the city, you're still in the college town. There's, 75 miles between us? 72, I correct. Not that I've mapped the backroad shortcuts or anything. His eyebrows jump. You've mapped shortcuts? Heat creeps up my neck. Graphic designer brain. I like efficient lines. He steps forward, presses a quick kiss to the blush. I like that you like efficient lines. Then, softer, an hour's drive isn't a deal breaker. We already do weekend hangs. Now we just upgrade the itinerary. Same ridiculous movie marathons, I say, ticking items off an imaginary list, but with sanctioned cuddling. Mandatory, actually. And art supply dates where you pretend to hate glitter pens. He groans. Fine, but only if you stop mocking my coffee snobbery. Never happening. I grin, then sober a little. But we'll have busy weeks. Deadlines. Life. He nods, sliding his fingers through mine. We'll text, call, send terrible selfies. I'll drive up after late shifts. You'll crash on my couch when inspiration keeps you in the studio till dawn. The couch? I arch a brow. Okay, my bed. He squeezes my hand, suddenly earnest. We figure it out, Milo. One day at a time. Long as we're honest, we're good. Honesty. The word lands solid. Last night proved we can rip out the quiet things and survive the noise. Deal, I say. We seal it with jam-sweet mouths and laugh when the toast burns. Later we venture outside, boots sinking in rain-soaked needles. The air smells rinsed clean, and everything feels newly possible. We hike a short trail to the overlook Luca loves. Below, the lake mirrors a low sky, pewter and still. He stands behind me, arms wrapped around my chest, chin on my shoulder. You know, he murmurs, this view's been my screensaver for years. Because it's pretty? Because it's where I decided I liked you. Senior spring break. You were sketching that crooked birch, and your pencil broke, and you cussed so softly I nearly kissed you right then. My pulse trips. You should've. Making up for lost time now, he says, turning me until we're face to face. The kiss is slow, sure, tasting of rain and all the hours ahead. When we break, he takes my hand, weaving our fingers together like lacing shoes, something meant to stay tied. Ready to go back? He asks. Eventually, I say. But I'm not done memorizing this. I squeeze his hand once, heartbeat steady for the first time in forever. Besides, the future can wait a few more minutes. He smiles, eyes crinkling, and leans in again. Because the future, apparently, can wait a kiss longer too. We leave the cabin Sunday at noon, sunlight stippling the dashboard through the pines. Luca's playlists spin from grunge to guilty pleasure pop, and every chorus becomes a duet, off-key, ecstatic. The road ribboning out of the forest should feel like an ending, but it doesn't. It feels like the first page of something handwritten and sprawling. Halfway home, he pulls onto a scenic turnout overlooking the valley. The lake glints below, the same pewter sheet we'd watched that morning, now scattered with silver where wind schemes its surface. He cuts the engine but leaves the music low, just a gentle hum beneath the hush of evergreens. I have a souvenir for you, he says, rummaging in the truck's console. He produces a tiny, battered compass on a leather thong, the one that used to hang from his rearview mirror. Dad gave me this when I got my license. Figured it was time it guided someone who actually gets lost. I laugh. I have Google Maps, Navigator. Humor me. He presses it into my palm, closing my fingers around cool brass. It's symbolic. Of what? He shrugs, suddenly shy. Of direction, I guess. Of always finding our way back. His gaze flicks to mine. Back to each other if we drift. The seriousness in his voice roots me to the moment. I slip the thong over my head, letting the compass settle against my chest, right over the thrum of my heart. Then you need a token too. I dig into my backpack until my fingers brush the slender graphite stick tucked in the spiral of an old sketchbook. It's my favorite 4B pencil, half-worn, the wood nicked from nervous tapping. I offer it to him like a reliquary. For when you think your bone structure's been tragically underdocumented. He laughs, warm, astonished, then tucks the pencil behind his ear exactly the way I do. The sight tugs an embarrassing ache from somewhere deep and soft. "Fair trade," he murmurs and leans across the console. We kiss, slow and certain, the kind that tastes like promise instead of question. When we part, he keeps our foreheads touching. "You know this distance thing's going to be a pain sometimes." "Yeah," I admit. "But art exhibits happen in your city. Coffee snob conventions happen in mine. And, worst case, I start a sketch series on public transit naps." He chuckles. "You'll go viral. Sleepers of the Eastern Line. I'll dedicate it to you, muse and chauffeur." His smile softens. "We'll set dates. Alternate weekends. And if you have a deadline and can't travel, I'll drive up with takeout and stand over you until you hydrate." I nod, heart doing ridiculous things. "Deal. And if your shifts run late, I'll send dumb voice memos to keep you awake on the road." Like dramatic readings of shampoo ingredients? Exactly. I squeeze his hand where it rests on the stick shift. "We'll make distance just another story we tell later." He flips my hand over, tracing the faint paint-smudged lines on my fingers. Then he brings my knuckles to his lips, brief, gentle, grounding. A simple gesture, but it lands with the weight of a vow. When we merge back onto the highway, the world feels newly vivid, billboards bright, clouds towering like painted backdrops, even the rumble of tires carrying the echo of possibility. Luca hums beside me, tapping the wheel in time. Every so often he glances over, and our smiles catch like magnets. 60 miles out, rain threatens again, dark bruises gathering on the horizon, but neither of us reaches for the wipers yet. We've weathered worse storms and come out laughing. Just before the city skyline rises, he threads his fingers through mine over the console, resting our joined hands where any passing driver might see. No theatrics, no fanfare, just a shared, steady grip that says, "I'm here. I'm staying." The compass thumps lightly against my chest with each bump in the road, a tiny heartbeat echoing my own. Beside me, Luca's pencil glints in the sun, a slender promise tucked behind his ear. Ahead, the interstate unspools like a sketch line waiting for color. We press the gas, windows cracked to let in spring air that smells of wet earth and whatever comes next. And just like that, the future stops being an abstract horizon and becomes a road we're already on, hands clasped, music loud, every mile a new brushstroke in the story we finally dared to start.